Hi, I'm Edgar. I'm the coach of the San Jose Sizors, and I'm going to be showing you guys my GPA Draft Analysis. To start things off, I'm going to go over the GPA. This is season 2 of it. There are 16 total coaches, and this season they decided to add in some S-tier mons to make it a bit more competitive. Now, I had no interest in drafting an S-tier mon, so I don't know them off the top of my head. And I had the 15th pick out of 16, which meant I had the second pick in the next round. And from the start, I knew what I wanted to draft. And I like more bulky offensive teams. So I decided to go with that. So without further ado, my first pick, I decided to go with Toxapex. Toxapex, bulky water, poison type. Has a great move to protect itself in Baneful Bunker, has reliable recovery, as well as an ability regenerator. Now, a lot of people were obviously taking S-tier Pokemon at the beginning of the first round, as well as some of the best Megas available, which meant I had a pick over a lot of Tier 1s that were available. But I didn't know which Tier 1 I really wanted to prioritize. I knew 3 to 4 Pokemon that I wanted to get in this draft for sure, that I wanted to build my team around, and Toxapex was one of them, since I wanted to build a regen core. So, in the second round, I decided to draft Tangrowth. Tangrowth is a great grass type with great bulk. It could be a mixed attacker. Obviously, its special defense and speed are really lackluster, but if you throw on an assault vest on it, it'll be really bulky from the special side. But I don't plan on focusing on him being more of a specially defensive mon since I have Toxapex. Unless I'm dealing with a team that has a great electric type, then I will have to consider making him a bit more specially bulky to deal with that. My bad, I wasn't finished with Tangrowth, but here was my third pick. My first tier 1 that I decided to get was Tornadus Therian, thus completing my regen core and making my team almost pretty bulky. Tangrowth able to take electric attacks for Therian and Toxapex. Toxapex being able to take fire and ice type attacks for Tangrowth and Torn. Then you have Tornadus Therian eating up ground types for Toxapex. So overall they complement each other really well. And then, so I wanted to get a Hazard Setter, Stealth Rock Setter, and a Stealth Rock Mover. So the best mon I can think of that was in a tier 3 was Donphan. I've used Donphan in the past. I really like using him. Good physical bulk. He could phase Pokemon out. Thanks to his sturdy ability, Pokemon can set up as long as he's at full. I can just collect Roar, take them out, and try to deal with the setup mons another time. With my next pick, I wanted to take a mon I've always wanted to use in draft format, but never had a chance to really use him, and that mon was Snorlax. Now, I feel like my team complements him really well, considering Toxapex and Tornadus Therian are able to eat physical attacks or fighting type attacks to keep him safe. So close combat won't do much to Toxapex, nor will it do a lot to Tornadus, and they will be able to recover it off with ease. Overall, I really like Snorlax and the ability that it makes your opponent think that you're either going to be Belly Drum or Curslax, so they're going to start bringing phasers, when in reality you could just bring in a bulky pivot mon that could eat fire type, ice type attacks with its thick fat ability, or you could just bring a choice band and just hit something hard before they even try to phase you out. Since phasing moves such as Roar, Whirlwind get negative priority, Snorlax will be able to hit them first before they could phase them out. And then, for the rest of the draft, I was mostly just trying to fill my tier 4, tier 5 before I started going into my mega, my free picks, because I wanted to be able to use my points wisely. So everyone was already drafting tier 1s, tier 2s as their free picks by now. So I wanted to be grabbing, in my opinion, the lower tier mons that would fit my team the best in hopes that they didn't get sniped. Luckily, I did not get sniped at all in this draft. So with my tier 4, I went with Hitmontop. Now I know you'll say that Hitmontop and Donphan will fill a similar role as a rapid spinner, but with Hitmontop I'll be able to run Donphan more offensively as a ground type as opposed to just running him with an impish set, relaxed set, just stealth rock rapid spin. And the same can go with vice versa. Donphan could be that while Hitmontop runs a more offensive set. And I think that's what I mostly wanted to do, was build a team where it doesn't trap mons into specific roles and allow me to use them as creatively as I can. The next mon I decided to get was an electric type in tier 5. Now there aren't a lot of good low tier electric types, but I've always been a big fan of the Rotom forms. My favorite form has always been Rotom Mow, then Rotom Wash, and then it's always been Rotom Ghost. Yes, he has a dark weakness and a knockoff weakness, but being able to click T-Wave, Shadow Ball, Stab, Thunderbolt Stab gives me momentum with Volt Switch. He's able to be a spin blocker. I felt that he would complement my team really well. And since he's also got Defog, I can make him my main form of removal. And so teams will prepare for a rapid spinner instead they get a Defog Rotom. And there's just a lot of more sets that I could run with Rotom. Like there's obviously the Choice Scarf trick set to cripple passive bulkier mons, which I'll probably end up running at some point in the season, but I don't want to run similar sets all the time. Rotom will most likely be either incredibly just a bulk set, or he's going to be a Choice Scarf set, spec set, and is mostly just going to be chipping things down for the rest of my team. Then with my next few picks, I decided to go more into my free picks. So with my next free pick, I decided to take Drapion. Drapion's always been one of my favorite Pokemon. I started playing Pokemon, I got my own Pokemon game with Diamond and Pearl. So I got Drapion in that, and it's always been just a close Pokemon to me. And in my opinion, he's probably the best tier 4 Mega, or tier 4 Pokemon. You get one weakness, that's the ground. I have ground covered, or I will have ground covered in a bit. But, I mean, you get T-Spikes, you get Stab knockoff. And overall, he's able to check Fairy types with Poison Jab. He's able to cripple Pokemon because he gets 100% accuracy with Toxic. And I think in one of my leagues, he led my team in passive kills, mostly because I would just set up T-Spikes when they were expecting a more offensive set or an AV set, considering that the matchup that they had. And overall, it works well with my team. Although I do have dual poison types, but they don't share a psychic weakness. In fact, one's immune, so it makes it a bit easier to be switching around. I can bring them both to a battle, I can just bring one. Overall, Toxapex is probably the better mon since it gets better reliable recovery compared to Drapion. But Drapion is a mon that shouldn't be slept on too often. And then for my next free pick, I wanted to get a fairy, so that way people aren't just spamming outrage against me. I wanted to get a fairy that was pretty versatile, and I felt really good with the fairy I drafted, which was Slurpuff. Obviously there's the belly jump set, there's sticky web sets, but I also wanted to be able to heal ailments with Heal Bell. I don't really need wish passing considering most of my mons have good reliable recovery, so there's regen, there's Snorlax with the rest, you can just run Sleep Talk, and I felt I don't need wish passing as much, but to be able to cure, for instance, poison, burns, I felt Slurpuff would be huge in that aspect. And then every now and then run obviously the belly drum set and just start sweeping from there, or just cripple a team as much as possible. And at this point there was only one or two other people that hadn't drafted a Mega. The Mega I originally started wanting to draft, so Torn, Toxapex, and Tangrowth were the 3 of the 4 Pokemon that I wanted to draft for sure. The 4th was Charizard Y. I've never used Charizard Y, and I really wanted a good fire type. But then seeing that this Mega was still available in the beginning of the 11th or the 10th round just blew my mind. I couldn't see how it was still available, because since it's banned in a lot of leagues because it's too good, I've never used it, but to be able to draft it at the 10th round, I think was pretty big, and that's Mega Latias. Now, Latias obviously great dragon, psychic type. It has good recovery. It gives me a ground immunity along with Rotom and Tornadus Therian, which protect Toxapex and Drapion. And then it gives me a psychic resistant, which will help Toxapex. They complement each other pretty well since Latias resists electric, it's immune to ground, it resists psychic. And I just thought this fit my team more than Charizard Y did. And then for my last pick, I still wanted a fire type that wasn't weak to rocks, even though I have 5 different ways of removing hazards with Defog or Rapid Spin. I still wanted a fire type that wasn't going to be taking a lot from rocks or hazards in general. And the only other tier 1 fire type that was available, other than what I drafted, was Blacephalon and Heatran. I decided to go with Heatran. My team was really bulky, I wanted to keep it that way, so I figured Heatran, since he resists rock, or it doesn't take as much from rocks compared to Blacephalon, he'd fit my team more, being able to run more switches. I decided to make Tornadus Therian, Snorlax, and Heatran my 3 Z captains. Now, the only Z moves that are banned are Omni boosting, Evasion boosting, so like Z Celebrate, stuff like that is banned. So you're able to run Z Sunny Day with Heatran, just get that speed boost. You could run Z Stockpile with Snorlax to get full HP, while at the same time boosting your defenses. I was also considering Tangrowth, Drapion, and Slurpuff instead of Snorlax, but with Slurpuff it didn't make too much sense considering that Belly Drum wouldn't trigger on Burden if I was to use Z Belly Drum. So I immediately thought, well, I would rather just run a Citrus Berry. Drapion's good, but he doesn't have that big attack stat that'll just take out Mons. Snorlax, on the other hand, you could run Belly Drum, Rest, and then just start sweeping from there. I felt more comfortable with Snorlax as a Zmon over Tangrowth and Drapion. Tornadus Therian has insane coverage, so for sure it was going to be my Zmon. Heatran, huge special attack stat, and he gets Fire, Steel. So, yeah, there's my team. If anything, I'd probably just change him on top, but I won't be making any changes, at least for the first 2 weeks. And I'll likely have my first battle, what's going to happen tomorrow, which I don't know when I'll be uploading this, but I'll upload this the day before I upload my battle. And then I'll be uploading my team builders in the same video with my battles, since it'll just be easier to do that since it's less time consuming. It'll mostly just be a quick overview of what team I'm bringing, their sets, the moves, a little quick reason why or how I came to the conclusion to build it this way. Alright, that's everything. See you when I next upload.